The internet is on fire tonight, and if you thought the rumors couldn't get any messier, think again. Whispers have turned into screams. Screenshots are flying across timelines, and fans are glued to their phones as one question dominates every conversation. Did Mendeecees really hook up with Tamar behind Yandy's back? For weeks the streets have been buzzing with suspicious sightings, cryptic captions, and late-night studio rumors that seemed too wild to be true. But now, with pressure mounting and silence growing louder by the hour, Yandy has finally broken her calm facade, and what she said has left everyone absolutely stunned. Sources close to the situation claim that Yandy had been holding it together behind closed doors, smiling for the cameras while her world quietly cracked apart. Fans are shocked because just days ago, she posted what looked like a happy family moment, arm in arm with Mendeecees, glowing and but insiders say that was the night everything shifted. A late-night phone call, a name she never expected to hear, and a betrayal that cut deeper than anything before. According to those in the know, Yandy locked herself in her room for hours, replaying old memories in her mind while the truth slowly sank in. Meanwhile, Tamar's name suddenly exploded across blogs and comment sections like wildfire. Some called it a setup, others swore they had receipts. A shaky video clip surfaced showing two silhouettes leaving a private studio entrance in the early hours of the morning. Fans zoomed in, enhanced frames, compared outfits, and within minutes, the verdict was already being passed online. Emotions ran high as Team Yandy and Team Tamar went to virtual war, dragging personal histories, old feuds, and past betrayals into the spotlight once again. And where was Mendeecees in all of this? Silent. No posts. No denials. No explanations. Just a ghost in the middle of the storm. That silence only poured gasoline on the fire, pushing Yandy closer to the edge. Friends begged her not to react publicly. Family urged her to protect her peace. But the pressure was relentless. Every hour that passed without a response made the rumors feel more real, more dangerous, more humiliating. Then, just when fans thought they'd never hear her side, Yandy finally spoke. Not in a polished interview, not through a publicist, but in a raw, unexpected moment that caught everyone off guard. Words that trembled with hurt, anger, and disbelief. Words that hinted at secrets far darker than anyone imagined. And the moment her statement hit the timeline, the family was left divided, fan loyalties shattered, and a brand new chapter of chaos was officially unleashed. What did Yandy really say about the alleged hookup? How did Mendeecees react when she confronted him behind closed doors? And what role does Tamar truly play in this explosive triangle? Buckle up, because the truth behind this scandal is far more twisted than the rumors you've already heard. The moment Yandy's words hit the internet, the reaction was instant and savage. Timelines erupted, blogs refreshed by the second, and comment sections turned into digital battlegrounds. Fans are shocked not just by what she said, but by what she implied. She never directly named Tamar in that first statement, but she didn't have to. The pauses, the trembling in her voice, the way she said someone I once respected crossed a line that can never be erased told the world everything it needed to know. Within minutes, Tamar was trending worldwide. Inside Yandy's home that night, the energy was thick with tension. Mendeecees sat across from her on the couch, jaw tight, eyes darting between the floor and the wall, refusing to meet her gaze. Yandy stood with her arms crossed, her whole body shaking with a mix of rage and heartbreak. I asked you one simple question, she said quietly at first. Did you or did you not cross that line with her? For a long moment, the only sound in the room was the hum of the air conditioner and Yandy's uneven breathing. Mendeecees finally sighed. You're letting the internet poison your mind, he said. You know how rumors go. But Yandy wasn't buying it. She lifted her phone and slid it across the table, toward him. Screenshots, timestamps, blurred images that looked a little too familiar. Explain this, she demanded. His face changed instantly. The color drained. His lips parted like he wanted to speak, but no words came out. That silence was louder than any confession. So it's true, Yandy whispered, her voice cracking. After everything we've survived, jail, cheating, public humiliation, you chose her. Emotions ran high as she began to pace the room, tears finally spilling over. Do you know what that does to a woman? To a wife? To a family? She cried. Mendeecees stood up abruptly, running a hand over his head. It wasn't supposed to get this far, he muttered under his breath. Those words shattered what little hope Yandy had left. On the other side of the city, Tamar was dealing with her own nightmare. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Friends, management, family, everyone demanding answers. She locked herself in her bedroom, blinds drawn, lights off, scrolling through thousands of messages calling her everything from a homewrecker to a snake. I didn't ask for this, she whispered to herself, tears sliding down her cheeks as she replayed the night that started it all. According to insiders, it began weeks earlier at a private industry event. No cameras, no press, just music, drinks, and familiar faces. Yandy had skipped the event due to a family commitment, and Mendeecees attended alone. That's where Tamar and Mendeecees reconnected after years of casual acquaintance. At first it was harmless conversation, laughter, shared memories. But as the night wore on and the crowd thinned, the energy shifted. You look different, Tamar had said with a soft smile. More.com. Mendeecees laughed. Marriage will do that to you. But something in his eyes told a different story. A story of frustration he had buried for years. A story of unresolved resentment. What started as conversation turned into confession. By the time they left that venue, boundaries were already dangerously blurred. Back in Yandy's living room, the argument exploded beyond control. You humiliated me, Yandy screamed. Not just as your wife, but as a mother of your children. Mendeecees fired back. You never listen anymore. Everything is cameras, blogs, storylines. I felt invisible. The family was left divided emotionally, each word cutting deeper than the last. Yandy slapped the table so hard the glasses rattled. So you ran into her arms instead of fighting for us. Late that night, Yandy packed a small bag and left the house. No press, no announcement, just gone. She disappeared to a friend's home, turning off her location, cutting off most calls. To the public, it looked like silence. Behind the scenes, it was survival. When Tamar finally broke her silence, her message only made things worse. I would never intentionally hurt another woman, she wrote, but I won't be crucified for something that's not the whole truth. Those words were enough to set the internet on fire again. Fans are shocked by how carefully she avoided a direct denial. Some took it as confirmation. Others insisted she was protecting herself from legal fallout. Yandy saw the post and lost it. Not the whole truth. She said bitterly to her friend, so some of it is the truth. That single line fueled a new wave of speculation. Blogs began dropping exclusive updates by the hour. Some claimed Yandy was preparing divorce papers. Others insisted she was only taking space. Rumors swirled that the network was already circling, eager to capture every raw moment on camera. Then came the twist no one expected. A woman from Tamar's inner circle went live, claiming the entire story was being manipulated. She alleged that Mendeecees had pursued Tamar relentlessly, hiding behind claims that his marriage was already over. She was told Yandy and Mendeecees were separated. The woman insisted Tamar didn't knowingly betray anyone. That revelation cracked the narrative wide open and left fans scrambling to choose sides all over again. Yandy, however, wasn't moved. Separated or not, you knew my name, she reportedly said in a furious voice note that leaked hours later. You knew we shared children. You knew there was history. You don't trip and fall into another woman's husband. Mendeecees, cornered from every angle, finally issued a statement of his own, short, vague, defensive. He spoke of misunderstandings, private matters, and growing pains. He apologized for unnecessary hurt without admitting to anything specific. Too many. It sounded like a man trying to control the damage rather than take responsibility. As days passed, the situation only grew darker. Yandy's children began asking questions. School parents whispered. Family members took sides. Some urged her to forgive for the sake of the kids. Others demanded she walk away and never look back. The family was left divided in ways no one could mend overnight. And just when it seemed like the chaos couldn't get any worse, another alleged receipt surfaced. An audio clip. Muffled voices. Laughter in the background. A female voice that sounded unmistakably like Tamar saying, "We have to be careful. You're still married." That single sentence sent shockwaves through the fandom. Emotions ran high as even previously neutral fans began to lean toward Yandy's version of events. Yandy listened to the clip in silence. When it ended, she closed her eyes and whispered, "That's all I needed to hear." What happens next would change all of their lives forever. The following morning, Yandy woke up to dozens of missed calls and a phone vibrating with nonstop notifications. Her friend tried to shield her from the worst of it, but there was no escaping the storm now. Every major blog had picked up the leaked audio. Headlines screamed betrayal. Fans are shocked by how fast sympathy had shifted fully to her side. DLA lawyers were already being mentioned in comment sections, and even people who once defended Mendeecees were now questioning his silence. Yandy sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, her hands trembling. "I built a family with him," she whispered. "I sacrificed my pride for him so many times." Her friend tried to comfort her, reminding her of her strength, her children, her future. But the hurt was too fresh, too raw. Betrayal wasn't just emotional now, it was public, amplified, dissected, and replayed on every screen. Mendeecees, meanwhile, was unraveling in his own way. He hadn't slept all night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Yandy's face the moment the truth hit her, not the screaming, not the anger, but the quiet disappointment. That haunted him more than anything. His phone finally rang just after sunrise. It was Tamar. "We're trending everywhere," she said anxiously. "They're calling me a homewrecker." "You think they're being hard on you?" he snapped. "My marriage is on the line." "You told me it already was," Tamar fired back. "You said you were done." "Done emotionally isn't the same as done legally," he replied coldly. That was the first time Tamar truly realized she had been standing on half-truths. Panic set in for her. Sponsors began calling. Meetings were cancelled. Opportunities quietly disappeared from her calendar within hours. She walked around her living room in circles, replaying every conversation she ever had with Mendeecees, trying to figure out where the lie ended and the truth began. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "I never wanted to be the villain in someone else's family." But the damage was already done. Later that afternoon, Yandy finally agreed to meet Mendeecees face-to-face. Not at their home, not on camera. Neutral ground. A quiet private office arranged by a mutual friend. When she walked in, Mendeecees stood up slowly, unsure whether to hug her or keep his distance. She said nothing and took a seat across from him. The silence between them felt heavier than words. "Tell me everything," Yandy said finally. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were dangerous. "No more tricks. No more half-truths. Everything." Mendeecees swallowed. His hands shook as he folded them together. "It started as talking," he admitted, "complaining, venting. I was angry, and she listened. So I stopped listening." Yandy asked sharply. "No," he replied. "We stopped hearing each other." The room felt like it was closing in. "Did you sleep with her?" Yandy asked bluntly. Mendeecees hesitated. "Just for a second." That 1 second told her everything. "So that's my answer," she said quietly, standing up. "We're done." He rushed to his feet. "You can't just end it like that." "Watch me," she replied, her voice shaking now. "I forgave jail. I forgave cheating. I forgave embarrassment. But this crossed a line I will never unsee." Emotions ran high as he dropped to his chair in defeat. The weight of his choices finally crushing him. That evening, Yandy went live unexpectedly. No makeup, no glam. Just raw truth. Thousands joined within seconds. "I stayed silent to protect my children," she began softly, "but silence has been twisted into weakness. Let me be clear, I will not compete with another woman for my husband. I will not beg for respect." Her voice cracked. Fans flooded the chat with hearts, prayers, and support. She never said Tamar's name. She didn't have to. Tamar watched the live in tears. "She knows," she whispered. In that moment, guilt hit her like a wave. Regardless of what she'd been told, she now understood the magnitude of the pain involved. She tried calling Yandy. No answer. She texted. Blocked. By the next day, another twist dropped. An anonymous source close to Yandy leaked that legal paperwork had already been drawn up. Separation, custody, financial restructuring. The internet exploded all over again. Fans are shocked at how fast things escalated. Some cheered Yandy's strength. Others mourned the collapse of a family they had grown up watching. Mendeecees tried to regain control of the narrative. He posted a long, emotional message about loving his children, about struggling as a man, about mistakes he wished he could undo. But the comments were brutal. "You should have thought about that before," one fan wrote. Thousands liked it within minutes. Guilt became his shadow everywhere he turned. As for Tamar, she retreated completely. No posts, no lives, no statements. Rumors swirled that she was considering legal action against bloggers for defamation. Others claimed she was being pressured behind the scenes to apologize publicly, but silence became her shield. Inside Yandy's family, the fallout was just as intense. Some relatives urged reconciliation. "People make mistakes," an aunt said softly. "Don't break your home over rumors." Others were furious. "He disrespected you in public," another family member snapped. "You deserve better." The family was left divided, arguing over loyalty, faith, forgiveness, and pride. Yandy listened to all of it, and still chose herself. Late one night, she stood in her children's room watching them sleep. Tears slid silently down her face. "I'll protect you no matter what," she whispered. In that moment, she knew there was no turning back. But just when she thought the worst was behind her, another message landed on her phone. A message from Tamar. 3 words that would ignite the next explosion. "We need to talk." When the message from Tamar Braxton appeared on Yandy's screen, her heart dropped straight into her stomach. "We need to talk." Just 3 words, but they carried the weight of everything that had already shattered. She stared at the phone for a long time, her thumb hovering over the screen, anger and exhaustion twisting inside her chest. Her friend watched from across the room, instantly sensing the shift in energy. "It's her, isn't it?" she asked quietly. Yandy didn't even nod. The silence said enough. After hours of pacing, debating, praying, and fighting the storm in her head, Yandy finally replied with a single location and time. Not for reconciliation, not for closure, but for truth. She needed to hear everything with her own ears. The following evening, Yandy arrived first at the quiet upscale lounge, sunglasses on, shoulders squared. She chose a corner table away from the windows, her back against the wall. She wasn't walking into this as a broken woman, she was walking in as a wife who demanded answers. Minutes later, Tamar walked in, barely recognizable beneath oversized sunglasses and a pulled low hoodie. Her movements were slow, hesitant, like someone walking into their own judgment. They sat down in heavy silence. "I never wanted it to happen like this," Tamar began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I swear to you, I never woke up one day planning to hurt you." Yandy didn't flinch. "Yet here we are." Tamar's hands shook as she lifted her glass, barely taking a sip before putting it back down. "He told me you were already done, that you were only together for the kids. I asked him more than once if you were still his wife in every sense, and he looked me in my face and said no." "And you believed him," Yandy replied coldly. "I wanted to," Tamar admitted, tears glistening in her eyes. "Because by the time I realized something was wrong, feelings were already involved." Yandy leaned forward. "Feelings don't just appear out of thin air. They grow from choices." Emotions ran high in that moment, the air thick with years of unspoken rivalries and wounded pride. "Did you ever stop to think about my children? About how this would stain them forever?" Tamar broke then. Her shoulders caved in as quiet sobs escaped her. "Every night," she whispered. "And it's eating me alive." Meanwhile, across town, Mendeecees Harris was spiraling. His phone wouldn't stop ringing, but he couldn't bring himself to answer any of it. When he finally learned that the 2 women were meeting, panic surged through him like ice in his veins. He knew that once they spoke face to face, every lie he had carefully layered would unravel. Back at the lounge, the conversation between Yandy and Tamar grew more intense. "Did you love him?" Yandy asked suddenly. Tamar hesitated too long. "That pause just gave me my answer," Yandy said bitterly. "I didn't mean for it to go that far," Tamar cried. "I was lonely. He was familiar. We were both vulnerable." "Vulnerability doesn't excuse betrayal," Yandy snapped. "It just explains how it happened." For a moment, neither spoke. The tension was unbearable. Finally, Tamar reached into her purse with trembling hands and pulled out her phone. "You deserve to see this," she said softly, sliding it across the table. Yandy hesitated, then picked it up. Messages, voice notes, late-night calls, affectionate words, promises, and then, one message that made Yandy's breath catch in her throat. "I'll leave her soon, I just need time." Yandy closed her eyes. That sentence echoed in her head like a gunshot. The family was left divided long before the public ever knew, and she had been the last to realize it. She pushed the phone back across the table. "He planned it," she murmured. "While I was defending him, while I was protecting his name." Tamar nodded through tears. "And now I see I was just a chapter he used to escape his guilt." In that moment, something unexpected happened. The anger Yandy felt toward Tamar didn't disappear, but it shifted. The deepest wound, the one that cut into her bones, now clearly belonged to only one man. When Yandy returned home late that night, she said nothing. She walked straight into the bedroom they once shared and began removing his things. Shirts, shoes, photos, memories folded into boxes with shaking hands. Every item felt like a small funeral. By morning, his side of the room was empty. When he arrived later that day and saw the boxers stacked neatly near the door, reality finally struck him with full force. "You already decided," he whispered. "No," Yandy replied, standing tall. "You decided when you lied." Emotions ran high as he tried to explain, to beg, to rewrite the past with desperate words. I was confused. I was lost. I didn't think it would destroy us like this. You didn't think about us at all, she said calmly. And that's the problem. He dropped to his knees in front of her, sobbing openly now. I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, public apology, whatever it takes. Yandy looked at him for a long time. Then she shook her head slowly. You can't apologize for choices you kept making over and over again. News of their private confrontation leaked within hours. Insiders whispered about separation papers, custody discussions, asset division. Blogs updated every 15 minutes. Fans are shocked at how fast the empire built on loyalty and resilience was turning into rubble. Tamar, shattered by guilt and public backlash, finally released her own emotional statement late that night. She admitted to an inappropriate emotional and physical connection, took responsibility for her part, and apologized directly to Yandy and her children. Some fans applauded her honesty, others said it was too little, too late, but Yandy never responded publicly. Instead, she made one final silent move. The following week, without warning, she filed official separation paperwork and requested primary custody. When the news broke, it hit like an earthquake through the fandom. The internet froze. Comment sections exploded. Everyone asked the same question at once. Was this the end of their marriage forever? Or just the beginning of an even darker battle still to come? The custody filing changed everything overnight. What had once been whispered as rumors was now stamped into cold, legal reality. Mendeecees was served the papers early in the morning, right outside his front gate. By noon, the blogs had the documents. By evening, the entire fandom was dissecting every line. Fans are shocked at how quickly Yandy shifted from wounded wife to strategic protector of her children. Mendeecees sat alone in his car for nearly an hour after reading the filing. Primary custody, limited visitation, supervised access during the first phase. It felt like the ultimate punishment, one that cut deeper than losing Yandy ever could. She's trying to erase me, he whispered, tears sliding down his face. But those closest to him knew the truth. This wasn't erasure, it was consequence. When he finally confronted Yandy that night, his voice was shaking with both anger and fear. You're taking my kids from me, he said. No, Yandy replied evenly. I'm protecting them from chaos. Emotions ran high as he slammed his hand against the wall. You're doing this to hurt me. I'm doing this so they never have to read headlines about their father choosing another woman over their family. She shot back. The room fell silent. Even his anger had no defense against that truth. Their children, though shielded from the worst details, began sensing the shift. Questions became more frequent. Why is Daddy not sleeping here? Why are there boxes in the house? Why does Mommy cry when she thinks we're asleep? Yandy held them close every night, forcing a smile through her pain. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, she told them softly, but Mommy will always be here. Inside Tamar's world, the fallout continued like a slow implosion. Shows cancelled, interviews pulled, brands quietly backing away. She tried to appear strong online, posting scriptures and self-reflection messages, but behind closed doors she was unraveling. Insomnia, anxiety, guilt that refused to loosen its grip. I lost everything for a man who couldn't even be honest, she sobbed to a friend one night. The loneliness hit harder than the backlash ever could. Meanwhile, Mendeecees hired a legal team and prepared for war, not against Yandy's character, but for his image. I won't be painted as a monster, he told his lawyer. I made a mistake, yes, but I'm not an absent father. Strategy replaced emotion. Statements were drafted. Witnesses lined up. The narrative was being reshaped. Yandy saw right through it. She didn't respond with interviews or counterstatements. She responded with evidence, timelines, messages, the pattern of deception, the emotional manipulation. Every tear had been documented, every lie preserved. Her legal team advised her quietly. Stay silent, they told her. Let the truth speak in court. And then, the unthinkable happened. An unidentified woman stepped forward claiming she, too, had been involved with Mendeecees during his marriage, long before Tamar ever entered the picture. Screenshots poured out, hotel receipts, travel dates that overlapped with family vacations. The internet froze all over again. Fans are shocked at how deep the double life truly ran. What had once been framed as a single scandal now looked like a pattern. Tamar saw the new receipts and broke down completely. So I wasn't the only one, she whispered in disbelief. The weight of realizing she wasn't even unique in the betrayal crushed her pride. She had sacrificed her reputation for a man who had been lying to multiple women at once. Mendeecees denied the new allegations at first, called them fabricated, clout chasing. But when more proof surfaced, voice notes, time-stamped videos, witness accounts, his defense began to crumble. Even his closest supporters grew quiet. The silence was deafening. Yandy, watching from a distance, felt no triumph, only exhaustion. Betrayal upon betrayal does not harden the heart, it drains it. I didn't lose a husband, she told her sister quietly one night. I lost the idea of who I thought he was. The first court hearing arrived faster than anyone expected. Outside the courthouse, cameras lined the steps. Fans gathered. Reporters shouted questions. Yandy arrived calm, dressed in black, her expression steady but distant. Mendeecees arrived moments later, eyes hidden behind dark glasses, jaw clenched tightly. They walked past each other without a word. Years of love reduced to silence. Inside the courtroom, their lives were reduced to documents and arguments, custody schedules, behavioral evaluations, financial responsibilities. The emotional chaos was translated into legal language. The judge listened carefully as accusations and defenses clashed, each side painting a different version of the same marriage. Emotions ran high when Yandy took the stand. I didn't file for custody out of spite, she said firmly. I filed because my children deserve stability, honesty, peace. And right now, their father cannot offer that. Mendeecees stared at the floor as her words echoed through the room. Then the judge turned to him. Do you deny the infidelity allegations brought before this court? Mendeecees paused. His lawyer shifted beside him. Finally, in a low voice, he answered, No, Your Honor. The room gasped. That single word changed everything. Outside, once the hearing ended, Yandy was surrounded by reporters. Do you feel vindicated? One shouted. She stopped, turned slowly, and looked straight into the cameras. I don't feel vindicated, she said quietly. I feel free. Then she walked away. Inside a dark living room miles away, Tamar watched the clip in silence. Tears streamed down her face, not for Mendeecees, but for Yandy. In that moment, she finally understood the depth of what she had stepped into. But the battle was far from over, because as the custody case moved forward, one final secret, buried deep in the shadows of the past, was about to surface. And when it did, it would shatter what little remained of Mendeecees' credibility forever. If you've been on the edge of your seat through every twist, every betrayal, every tear, and every shocking revelation in this saga, then you already know this story is far from over. What started as a whisper turned into a storm, and now lives, families, and reputations hang in the balance. The truth has begun to surface, but there are still questions that only time will answer. Will Mendeecees ever fully take responsibility for the damage left behind? Will Tamar find redemption after the fallout that reshaped her world? And will Yandy's strength be enough to rebuild what was shattered, not just for herself, but for her children? Now it's your turn. You've seen the clues. You've heard the accusations. You've witnessed the heartbreak unfold, piece by piece. Do you believe Yandy did the right thing by choosing herself and her children first? Do you think Mendeecees deserves another chance, or has the trust been broken beyond repair? And where does accountability truly begin when emotional lines have already been crossed? We want to hear everything you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because your voice matters in this story just as much as the headlines do. If this drama had you hooked from start to finish, make sure you smash that like button to show your support. And if you don't want to miss a single update, leaked detail, or exclusive twist as this battle continues to unfold, hit subscribe and turn on those notifications. Remember, this situation is still evolving, and new revelations could drop at any moment. Stay locked in with us.